Winter is coming and the Europeans are worried. As the Russians are tightening the noose, electricity bills are soaring, gas reserves are depleting, and Europe is forced to take desperate measures. Take a look at these images to understand how perilous the situation truly is. Monuments have gone dark in Germany's capital. Berlin is trying to stave off the energy crisis. European gas prices are going through the roof. They are 12 times higher than last year. Inflation hit an all-time high of 9.1% in August, and both commoners and leaders are worried. Behind the European energy woes is Moscow. Russian power company Gazprom has closed off Nord Stream 1, the biggest gas pipeline between Europe and Russia. It transports 55 billion cubic meters of gas. And now the European powers are in a huddle to find a solution to the crisis.
Putin's brutal aggression is a fundamental threat to Europe's security. And we all know now that he is using our dependence on Russian energy as a weapon to destroy our economy, and he will try to divide us.
We see energy prices breaking record after record. The consequences for households and companies are not sustainable anymore. And what we see is, yes, an energy crisis, but it's mainly a fossil fuel energy crisis. So we need a green solution against this fossil fuel energy crisis.
Clearly, gas is out of sight and in limited supply, and fossil fuels can't be an option as it would put the planet further in peril. Hydropower too has taken a beating. Scorching summer and drought have turned mighty rivers into a trickle. Again, other energy sources like solar and geo, wind and thermal could not provide the volumes needed to quench these energy needs. However, nuclear power continues to be a promising solution. Even though the capital costs are immense, it could meet the demand for electricity and the increasing challenge of climate change. Outgoing Prime Minister Boris Johnson announces that Britain will now invest around $800 million in a new nuclear plant. This is his last major policy announcement before stepping down from the role next week.
That's why we need to pull our national finger out and get on with Sizewell C. That's why we're putting £700 million into the deal, just part of the £1.7 billion of government funding available for developing a large-scale nuclear project to final investment stage, FID, in this Parliament. And in the course of the next few weeks, I am absolutely confident that it will get over the line. And we will get it over the line because it will be absolute madness not to.
It's not just Britain. Russia's assault on Ukraine, which began at the end of February, forced Belgium to rethink its plans to rely more on natural gas and stop using nuclear power entirely in 2025. A group of Swiss politicians is now seeking a revision to the country's energy policy to guarantee adequate power supplies. They want to keep nuclear as part of the energy mix. Switzerland plans to close the 5 nuclear reactors. This follows a 2017 decision prompted by safety concerns after the 2011 nuclear disaster in Fukushima, Japan, and has already shut 1 reactor. And all of that could now change, given the new ground reality. The Czech Republic recently has accelerated the building of nuclear reactors. The work will start in 2029 and will last for about 7 years. The French too are feeling the heat. A record number of France's 56 nuclear reactors have gone offline for overdue maintenance. This is due to corrosion issues that first surfaced last December. And as of August 29th, 57% of nuclear generation capacity is offline. France has for years helped to underpin Europe's electricity supply, providing about 15% of the region's total power generation. Clearly, nuclear energy could help Europe in the energy crisis, which clearly isn't going away in the recent future. That's not all. Japan, where the disaster at the Fukushima nuclear plant took place, has announced it will change its policies. Japan will restart more idle nuclear plants and look at developing next-generation reactors. Japan needs nuclear power also because its grid is not connected to neighboring countries.
原子力発電所については、再稼働済み10基の稼働確保に加え、設置許可済みの原発再稼働に向け、国が前面に立って あらゆる対応をとってまいります。
Now for more details and analysis, Oleksiy Pasyuk joins us live from Kiev. Pasyuk is an energy expert at the CEE Bankwatch Network. Oleksiy, welcome to WION World is One. My first question, Europe is clearly staring at a difficult winter ahead. Nuclear power continues to be a promising solution despite the challenges. What's your assessment?
Well, I think it's a very wrong even question, because I think it's clearly true that the discussion is going on about nuclear, and now in this situation it became a part of the agenda, but it's rather an attempt to solve these immediate energy kind of constraints. The discussions are about whether to keep reactors which were supposed to be closed, like in Germany, to keep them over for a longer time to go through this winter. All other projects which you have been mentioning, like construction of new units, this is mostly units which were promised long time ago but couldn't really move ahead without the state support, because nuclear industry is not able to build new reactors. And that's for a few reasons. One of them is very important, is the cost. And another one is speed, and that's related. And we already saw actually, like in United States, where government was trying to support nuclear and was providing state support, but it led that out of 4 units, 2 were cancelled. And actually Toshiba, which owned Westinghouse, the company which was building nuclear reactors, got bankrupt, and they had to sell their parts away. And that's what we also now see with EDF, for example. So financially, it's very difficult. And then there is also, of course, this part of the safety concerns, which we now see in Zaporizhia when everybody is watching whether we will have an accident.
I just want to elaborate on that point, actually. That brings me to a follow-up question. Boris Johnson says that Britain will invest around $800 million in a new nuclear plant. Other countries may also follow. But the question is, what are the challenges of the same? You mentioned costing and safety, of course, remain the two.
Yes, that's the thing. I mean, England itself, it was, for example, counting on China to build it, and the China will pay. But now it's politically difficult to rely on China. So they're desperately looking for some money. But then also we don't know when it will deliver. It's definitely will not solve the crisis which we currently have. You can look at Finland, which was building their units for like 15 years. They were supposed to go on grid in 2012, and they just putting it ahead. So it's a wish of the nuclear industry to get support and to build new. But we also have to look at the issue of security, because, for example, currently, in all this work on sanctions against Russia, there is no sanctions against Russian nuclear industry. And France just got a delivery of enriched uranium from Russia, and US also refusing to put a ban on uranium import from Russia. So it's just another industry where Europe and US is dependent on Russia. So that's why if you would look into the decisions which European Union, for example, did with this Repower EU plan, it's very much focused on energy efficiency and renewable energy, which kind of brings independence when you don't rely on fossil fuel or uranium, which is basically something you did from the ground, to bring over to Europe.
Right, Oleksiy, thanks so much for all those points, and thanks for joining us on WION. Of course, it's going to be a difficult winter ahead. We'll watch and see how all this unfolds. Thanks for joining us. WION World is One is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.